Hey, everybody, welcome to another Bourbon and Blockchain happy hour. Tonight, we're going to be talking about some current events. We're going to be talking about some news articles, and we're just going to catch you guys up on everything that's going on. But before we do that, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you guys hit the notification bell if you want to have a notification when we're putting this content out. And if you're listening to this and you'd rather listen to it on Spotify, we also post everything on Spotify after we record it. And before we get into the news, I'd like to ask you, gentlemen, how are you doing and how was your weekend?
You go first, Myron.
My weekend's been pretty lazy. I um I didn't like to see kind of the coins, Bitcoins, and crypto kind of selling off into the weekend, and today selling off a little bit. I guess it made a bounce, but other than that, kind of lazy. Didn't do too much this weekend.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. It was kind of a relaxing weekend. We're obviously in the heart of tax season, so there's a few people within my family that are in that field. So that means that there's a whole lot of downtime at least for those of us that aren't, right? Everybody's working except for me, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice. Yeah, you know
I
what?
still haven't
And
done my taxes.
oh
I'm in
no, you
trouble.
got to get on it.
I know. I'm in
You got,
trouble.
yeah, you're one of those people that'll wait to the very last minute and stress about it. All right, well,
Uh,
before we get into the news articles, I say we look at the market. I'd like to see, what you guys think about that. Let's just, that's not the right layout. There we go. So right now, it looks like Bitcoin's having a little bit of a recovery. If we look at the overall Bitcoin chart here, it looks like we found a bottom here pretty recently at that 44,500 level. It bounced up pretty hard, which is a good sign. We came back down and dipped into that a little bit, a few more times, and we were staying, fairly level, going sideways. So I think that's a good sign for Bitcoin in the short term. But we have a lot of indicators, macro indicators, that are making it seem like Bitcoin's making some bullish moves and is potentially in an accumulation zone. But we'll see. I mean, we'll have to see how that all plays out. What do you think, Myron?
I think it's right now, just like we are saying, it's just consolidating in this range, maybe looking for buyers or even the sellers who come in. But right now, I think it's looking decent, and I'm hoping that it hits, breaks the 50,000 mark and we start moving up. But with this market, just like you're saying, like over the macroeconomics, it's kind of still looking shaky. I think things are still looking shaky. JP Morgan came out, I think either this week or last week, saying that they think a recession is coming. So, the stock market today kind of rallied, especially the tech side. But it was weird today because I was looking at the charts. It's like stock market was going up. Then you have Bitcoin selling off. Of course, it recovered towards the later of the day in the afternoons. But the whole thing is just, it feels so shaky. I saw something too. You have these like perma bears or perma bulls, and the bears been calling a market crash for a long time, and they were like very happy when SPY dropped to like 410. But now we were back into the 450s. But they were showing one thing where it's like during 2008, right before the whole housing crash, the market dropped and made a huge recovery. But after that recovery, then you got that really big crash. So people are saying, hey, this is a recovery that, before the huge crash. The bears are saying, of course, the bulls like, hey, we already bottom. We're going to keep moving. Recession's not going to come this year, probably maybe next year, if the earliest. So it's confusing. But looking at the chart, I mean, it looks like it's consolidating, waiting for maybe big move up or down.
Yeah,
Yeah, what do you think, Maverick?
I agree. I do feel like, especially in the short term, it's definitely consolidating. We're seeing more sideways movement at the moment, right? Like last week, I think during our episode, that was like the first day that we had seen any red candles in about 5. It seemed like ever since that point, it has been kind of sideways. So again, more consolidation. Looking at the entire landscape, everything's seeming more healthy. People seem more optimistic. There's a lot of great news coming out that's crypto centric, which means people are definitely gravitating towards it. So Yeah, I do kind of feel like this is the calm before the storm. Now, when that storm is going to happen, I don't know, but it's I think it's a kind of a just a healthy in a healthy state at the moment.
Yeah, I won't spend a whole bunch of time on this, but since we're talking about the recession thing quickly, I will say that I've listened to some influential people, if you will, including, Kathy Woods and many other people, Michael Saylor, and a lot of people that are in the market that are looking at many different aspects of Bitcoin and have very good points, very, very well thought out points. And one of the things that they've said is if we do hit a recession, when typically in those recessions, most of those assets that you would invest in would be tied to the fiat market, right? So if you're going to invest into the stock market's going down. If you're going to invest in, short-term or long-term investment stocks and stuff like that, it's all going to be tied to that same fiat currency. If we hit a recession, there's the potential that people see Bitcoin as a way to park their money without losing all of that capital. If that potentially happens, that could be a really, really good thing, not only for Bitcoin, but for people that don't want to lose their money or their assets or their retirement funds during a recession. I think that would be really, really cool. But are enough people educated enough about Bitcoin to realize that they could even do that?
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm hoping for, right? Where people are saying Bitcoin is a hedge, but right now I think the mass majority of people, I would say, still see it as a risky asset
Hmm.
rather than something, because people I think immediately when they think of hedge, they say, "Oh, we can go buy gold," but gold hasn't been performing, for the past decade or so, where the price really hasn't moved that much, and Bitcoin, of course had a insane run. From 2019, it was like $4,000 or so to here, which is 10x. And but I think the sad thing is most people, as soon as they think of crypto, because I think they lack knowledge. Really, they think, oh, that's a risky asset. It's not really an asset that we'll hedge with. But the thing is, for the people that do know crypto, that have read up on Bitcoin, they see it as like the best hedge, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's like the best hedge to store your money, right? It's just a store of value. It's a exponentially growing savings account potentially. And I'm with you, Myron. I don't feel like the market's quite there yet. I don't think like the mass majority of people recognize Bitcoin for being what it truly is, and that what we kind of recognize it for being.
Right. I don't think we've matured enough yet, right? As an overall market.
Hmm.
And
Maverick is still stocking up on toilet papers and canned food. That's his hedge.
Hey,
and if
don't tell people that. I still need more time to stock up. Okay.
and then if you look at the total market cap on the market, it looks like it's healthily going upward. It looks like we're just constantly, putting more and more new money into the market, so that's good. Obviously, we're still recovering from our most recent bullish sentiment that brought us all the way down into this area here. A little bit over that 1.5 trillion mark, and now we're up into the 2.15 trillion mark. So healthy recovery in the overall funds that are going into the market as well.
Hey, just for giggles, Draco, do you still have that calculator up where you can kind of compare what Bitcoin would be if it was at the same market cap of, say, just gold?
There it
Uh,
is.
yeah. Hey, that's
Yeah.
that's impressive when you look at it from that perspective, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean, it's if you look at it too, it also has a progress bar. So it tells you like how long until we
Oh,
get to this, right? So right now we're currently at 7%, 7.1% of the market cap of gold. So, obviously that's a huge place that you would want to get to, but hey, we're making strides
we are.
what other asset is there?
on here. So you can do like Apple, so and it'll, you can actually do the
Is
math, and
there
it'll tell
real
you.
estate on there?
No, real estate
Okay.
is, I think it would be too high.
So
But
I
like for
looked at a
example,
thing.
silver.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about this. We can talk about, but the real estate market cap right now, I think is like 360 trillion.
Mhm.
Which, if you argue that eventually Bitcoin's can bypass that, which is a big ask, right? But if it gets there, Bitcoin's $17 million each.
Wow.
But we have heard, Michael Saylor talking about that he loves Bitcoin no more than the real estate. I think he said real estate, I guess if he would invest, it would be like the New York, Manhattan areas where it's like really valuable. But there's a set amount of Bitcoin, and I guess yeah, if we can get there, that'd be insane.
Yeah, I mean, if you look on the site up here in the corner, it says circulating supply. It's just like all the other tokens, right? And the circulating supply right now is 19,002,950 Bitcoin. So we're at the 90% mark of all of the Bitcoin that will ever be made, which I think will roll very nicely into our first article, which is that 2 million Bitcoin are left to mine out of the whole Bitcoin stash, all that will exist. So not too long ago, I think it was 3 days ago, we hit the 19 million Bitcoin milestone. So I think that that's pretty impressive. I mean, it shows where Bitcoin has come from, and I'd like to get your take on this, Myron.
So I mean, this is definitely exciting. I guess when you got to the round numbers. So we got 2 million more to go. I think each block size of the article is saying that it's 6.32 Bitcoin per block, and the halving is 2024. And I think they said by the calculations it'll be mined out in 21 something after 2100.
2140.
2140, which we won't be around probably. So, but the thing is, this is one of the assets where I guess you know exactly how much more you have, because I think even the gold miners, they don't really know exact amount how much gold they can mine, and I think this just shows you that hey, it's gonna get rarer and rarer, and if this Bitcoin is truly gonna do what is, what the world is treating like a storage of value, then you better grab them as much as you can before it gets to that stage where it gets extremely hard to mine, or if you talk about really long term where it just be completely mined out and there's a set amount. Just imagine there's 21 million, right, total. So that's not a lot because there's billions of people in this world. And Draco, I think we were talking about it a while ago that eventually people are just going to be, the average person is just going to be completely priced out of only one Bitcoin. And I think even right now at the price point of like 46,000, a lot of people are already priced out at owning one whole Bitcoin. So I think this is just a chance, I think, for people to really realize how rare of if we think of this as a commodity, how rare this is.
Mr. Maverick?
I agree. I mean, the halvenings for me are even bigger news than us reaching 19 million, in my opinion. Right? I mean, the halvings mean that there is less every 4 years being injected into the market by design. And yes, there's a finite amount, but it also is a decreasing amount over time. It's not like the current state of the world where we can just print money indefinitely and provide for whatever we need, right? So again, you mentioned it already, Myron. Scarcity. It's going to be more desirable as time moves on, right? More people come to realize what its purpose is, what it can do for you long term. Then yeah, I think that there's like a natural, healthy, organic progression for Bitcoin ahead of us. I just can't see it any other way.
Yeah, I won't get up on a soapbox and go too crazy into Bitcoin. I think we can have a show dedicated just to that at one point so we can really hit a lot of different points. But I will say a couple main things about Bitcoin that I don't think a lot of people understand. I think that cryptocurrency in general is our generation, meaning that everybody that's living right now, so like everybody that's alive, it's our only opportunity to make that huge gap in wealth, and the chances are going to be quick. So that opportunity, in my opinion, obviously started when cryptocurrency hit the floor. But in the last, since 2019 going into 2022 or going into 2020, that's where mass adoption started. That's where the on ramp really hit. And from then till now and going forward, that's the people's opportunity to make, generational wealth and life-changing money. And I think one of the biggest things that are going to be able to do that for your common person is going to be Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin will eventually be one of the best assets in the world. It'll be one of the most traded assets in the world. It'll be one of the more common assets in the world. I mean, you have to realize that Bitcoin's already recognized as something that people understand and get the concept of in almost every single country in the world. Like, it's recognized in the smallest and poorest countries because people are utilizing it to try to lift up their own economies, to the richest people. I mean, we can look at entire governments that are adopting this. It's not going away. It's the most economic way to move funds, especially large funds, and it's one of the safest ways to store money in history. It's literally permissionless, and it's and anybody can do it. So I think that this will go down as being one of the biggest and best assets in history. But I just want to make sure that people understand that there's a million different things you can do in crypto. But don't sleep on the OG. Don't sleep on Bitcoin.
Mhm.
Bitcoin is going to make tons and tons of millionaires, and the people that ignore it are going to sit there and kick themselves. And a lot of it's because I really do think that people get like number numbness. And I don't even think that's a term, but that's something that I've always called it. When you see the numbers, people get numb to it. So when Bitcoin's at 33,000 and it goes up to 45,000, people don't recognize it. They don't look at it, and they're just like, "Oh, that's not a big deal. Bitcoin's just doing its thing." That's a huge gain. But people, for whatever reason, the way that they look at the numbers, they just don't pay attention until it's too late. Somebody that would buy, even right now, if you were to buy Bitcoin in this price range of 47,000 and it goes up to 60,000, people would poo-poo that. In reality, that's a huge gain, and people just, for whatever reason, they're just not looking at it in a macro sense. They're looking at it in a very micro sense. And I've said 1,000 times, and I'll say it again, it's a long-term investment, at least a minimum of 4 years. And if that's the mindset, if you're trying to park money for a long period of time, I don't think that there's much better of an option out there, in my opinion.
I actually talked to someone that they said they met a whale, the Bitcoin whale locally recently, that started buying Bitcoin at $100 range.
Oh,
And he said the guy gave his sister 200 Bitcoins when it hit $300. And that's like what, $9 million or something right there,
oh
right now.
man.
It's insane, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
I mean,
along
it's
these
there.
same lines, I saw something on Twitter the other day about Satoshi, how his last post was on some, I'm not even sure what blog it was, from like 2009 or
Mm-hmm.
2010. Well, somebody created a fake.
Yep.
Did you see that? They created
Yeah,
a fake
I posted
post.
it in the Gen chat.
Oh, I thought that was so funny because there was people on Twitter saying he's back. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, I
that
can't
was
believe
fake?
this.
Yeah, it's fake.
I didn't think it was real because I don't think the guy, either that guy never existed, or I don't think he's alive anymore. Well, I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll move on to the next subject, but I want people to realize that gold is by far not the largest asset in the world. And the market cap of gold is somewhere in the range of $13 trillion. Well, it's right here, 12.29 trillion. And crypto is 2.2 or 2.16 or whatever we just saw earlier. So it's not that far away. And people have to realize that Bitcoin itself is the fastest asset in the world to ever hit $1 trillion market cap in history. And crypto was the second fastest, or the second fastest asset overall to hit a market cap that of $1 trillion that quickly. Nothing else has ever done it that quickly. And it's adopting 10 times or 8 times faster than the internet is. So it's just something to think about. Like, it's coming, and it's coming quickly. So just pay attention, and we're going to start seeing Bitcoin go up pretty fast. All right. So for this next article, I'll let you take this one, Myron.
Yeah, so basically what this article is saying is, if you guys are keeping up with the whole Russian drama, so Russia right now is asking basically the people buying its oil to pay in rubles. And of course, EU came out and says, we're not going to pay you in rubles. We're going to pay you in, I think dollars, and you can take that and convert it into rubles, whatever you want. And Russia's like, oh, okay, we'll do that. Then Putin came back and says, no, we're not going to do that. And recently, Russia's top oil company, Gazprom, actually stopped its business with Germany, and Germany is one of the biggest consumer of Russia energy. So basically, this article is saying Russia is kind of buying gold. So there's hints that maybe Russia is trying to back its rubles with gold, which is because we all know when as soon as Russia invaded, the price of rubles, it really dropped a lot. But recently, it has made a pretty good recovery. So there's talks that Russia may be moving towards that, which means that the money will actually be backed by something, unlike the US dollar, which is backed by nothing, just faith of, I guess, the US government. And I guess this article, one thing we more so want to discuss in terms of this is Russia is one of the biggest countries, I guess, that holds, it's not official, they don't recognize Bitcoin or crypto as currency, but the thing is, they do hold a lot of crypto. And there's a website, AAA, that says how many by population, what the percentage of people holding cryptos are. And Russia is the second largest with like 11% of people having cryptos. And the largest country is Ukraine with 12%. So Russia, they have a huge exposure to crypto. And with this whole thing, there's a talk where the US dollar is no longer going to be reserve currency, maybe in the coming years or decades, because the dollar is weakening. US printed so much money lately, and China and Russia was trying to trade in either yuan or rubles. So there's a lot of these countries trying to make their moves to move away from the US currency, the US dollar as reserve currency. And one of the things that I think everyone listening here would love to see is that for dollar to no longer be a reserve currency, if something is to pick up, there's a Chinese yuan, with a euro, with even the Japanese yen. But the thing is, hey, maybe Bitcoin is also in the realm to be a reserve currency. And if that happens, I mean, just I think Draco, you were saying, one of our chats one day that if that actually happens, or if the big institution can buy in, you just won't even get the chance to buy it. It just can go up so quick, and you better, accumulate, slowly load up before things like that happen. So, what do you guys feel about? If do you guys think it's possible that will happen, or what do you feel about this whole situation?
Well, personally, I think that Russia, we could see here that they have 11.9% estimated. I think that Russia right now is doing everything they can. When we look at them economically, when we're talking about these different articles, they're trying to do anything they can to be successful. They're trying to trade with China. They're trying to, form a different like world order so that they can have other people that will buy their energy assets. They're trying to buy Bitcoin to back their ruble. They're trying to do everything. So when I see this stuff, I pay attention to it, but who really knows what they're doing? I don't really know. I don't think anybody ever will. It's just something to kind of pay attention to. But at the end of the day, someone's going to realize, one of these large countries are going to realize the potential impacts of Bitcoin. And I think the race right now is everybody's waiting for really good, rules that are going to govern this system. And once that comes out and that people understand that they can get all of their investors and all the people at their company to buy that asset, for example, Bitcoin, then they're going to be able to put a lot of money into it. The race is who's going to start doing it first. Is it going to be really big countries, or is it going to be really big companies? And if large companies start spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Bitcoin specifically, or any crypto assets, or into the trillions, I mean, there's hedge fund managers that have multiple trillions of dollars that are invested in their shares. So, I mean, who knows who's going to go first? Who's going to dive first? Because once that button gets pushed, there's no taking it back, and the asset class is going to explode.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and I don't really know how to feel about an article like this. Who knows what their thoughts are or what their their plans are. But I do know, and the article actually kind of laid it out quite concisely. These world currencies kind of have a shelf life. It's been proven, right? There's not been one yet to last much longer than 100 years, and we're approaching that end of cycle now. So I think writing on the wall tells us that you're probably right in your assumption, Myron, that this has something to do with potentially establishing, some sort of a reserve dominance. Now, is it going to work? I don't know. Will Bitcoin ever be used as a reserve currency? Oh my God, I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, that would be the dream, right? Like everybody in the space right now would be forever grateful if that happened. But reality tells me that we're a little ahead of our time thinking that way, right? Like the space is not even mature enough to onboard more than what, maybe 2% of the world population at the moment. So that's going to continue to grow. And as that continues to grow, if it grows as exponentially as you've kind of already highlighted, Draco, with some of your statistics, who knows? I mean, 10 years from now, the economic space and the way we trade and the way we look at money or store money is going to be completely different. It's going to be a whole new world. I mean, it really will be. So, regardless, it's an exciting topic, just indifferent on the article itself because I don't know what to read into that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's crazy that we even have a monetary system that just inflates it like forever, right? I think that's crazy that we ever even got to that. Um, and if you read all of these articles that talk about the U.S. currency specifically, the U.S. currency is estimated to have lost 98% of its value over the last 90
Wow.
some odd years.
Isn't that
And
crazy?
that's insane. But the fact that they already knew that was going to happen because it's happened in history, right? It happened in Rome, it happened in England, it's happened all over the place. So the fact that it's actually been done before and we fell in the exact same trap, and then this new thing comes along with innovation and technology and computers, and then there's this thing called Bitcoin, and it actually is a stable amount. There's never going to be more than what's made. It doesn't inflate. It's a pegged, stable, asset that doesn't have more of it coming in outside of what's created there. It's slowly released, and it's governed by tens of thousands of computers that all run a network that constantly check to make sure that it's all correct. And there's no way to hack it. There's no way to duplicate it. There's no way to steal it outside of taking individuals' wallets. And even that is difficult in itself. I just think it's crazy that this finally comes along and people are still looking at it with the stink eye and they don't understand it. I just think that a little bit of it's with ignorance and the rest of it's with they're scared. They're scared they're going to lose control.
Well, you're
USD.
wrong. You're wrong, Draco. My dollar is still worth $1. Everything else,
I
everything
can
else
hold
is
it.
getting more expensive. It
That's
is
right.
not my dollar.
That's right.
USD is the own fork that has crazy amount of inflation, and its APR is like 0.1%. Man, that's a good project to get in.
Absolutely. And then there's this second Russia thing that we wanted to touch on as well, Myron.
Oh yeah, I think I mentioned this a little bit. Yeah, the basically Russia trying to move away from the. I think they're also do so. Basically, the Russia is asking to be paid in rubles for its gas, and it's basically I
Aren't they
think
like demanding it?
yeah, they're basic. I think if that happens, of course, it holds the value of rubles up. But I mean, this move is also kind of hitting at the reserve currency status of the US dollar.
I just like that
So,
Berlin said that they're rejecting it and saying that they're not going to be blackmailed by Putin. I think that was kind of funny.
but the thing is, they rely so much on Russia energy, not just gas, oil, like all this, man. It's interesting to see where this goes. And the thing is, if you think about this whole thing, if we talk about inflation in the US, I mean, most people have experienced it. Gas is going up so high, but in Russia, if you think about it, Russia has a lot of Bitcoin, which I guess you can say is inflation proof. They have a lot of gold. They also have gas, oil. They have a lot of commodities. So maybe this whole thing is good for them as a country, even though the rubles come down a lot. So it's interesting to see where this plays out, actually.
Yeah, we'll have to see, and I think that time will tell. I think the world's getting kind of frustrated with this whole entire thing. At first, it was shock and awe, and now it's frustration. People are getting angry that this thing is continuing to go the way that it is. So we'll have to see how the world reacts to all of that and reacts to Russia.
Yep.
All right, so on the next one, Sky Mavis pledges to reimburse players following Axie Infinity hack. So for those of you that don't know, there was a $625 million hack with Axie Infinity. And it looks like they're trying to find a way to reimburse people that were involved in that or people that lost money during that hack. And I think it actually affected multiple projects. It wasn't just Axie Infinity. It was like the Axie Infinity ecosystem, correct?
Yes.
So it looks like the attacker found a backdoor in the Ronin code and used that to hack private keys to create withdrawals, which the losses include 173,600 Ether and then 25 million of USDC. So it looks like they had USDC reserves as well. So I think this goes down as being one of the largest hacks. If not the largest hack, I don't remember if it was number one. I think it's still
No, there's a hack that's bigger. I
okay.
think that only 600. It's a little bit more than this, but this is one of the largest hacks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what does this tell you guys? I mean, this is for us. This is ways. These are things that we can learn from, right? Like it's always unfortunate to hear about these hacks, but what do we learn from this? Like, what do we take from this? And there's been a lot of hacks recently, a lot of databases and stuff. I mean, where is this pushing us? What is this telling us?
This tells me that I should be a hacker.
Yeah,
What am I even doing
it's
with
very,
my job?
very lucrative.
Yeah,
No, but I mean, crypto security is a huge thing. This is pretty insane how all these big protocols are getting hacked.
yeah, I agree, Myron. I honestly, it makes you scratch your head. Like you wouldn't imagine that a protocol of this size would have some sort of an exploit. But again, we've seen it time and time again. So it's sad news, right? And I definitely would hate to have been a part of it and been negatively impacted by it. But it's kind of like the best lessons that you learn in any situation in life are tough lessons, and every tough lesson kind of leads you to, I don't know, a more educated world, right? And so I think that these hacks, although they're horrible, they're costing a lot of people money. There's definitely going to be some light, I think, at the end of the tunnel, because the more money people lose, the less tolerant they are to losing it, right? So if everybody is demanding certain standards because they've lost money, then it will make us stronger as a whole.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think this is growing pains. I think that something like this asset class this is exactly what is going to be a problem, right? We're going to have to deal with regulators that are flooding the project saying that everybody involved in crypto is a hacker or a terrorist, right? And then we're going to have to deal with security issues until new technology comes along. I think eventually what this is going to drive, when you have companies that are losing $600 million in assets, I think that there's going to be a huge request or a huge push for more security and maybe different types of security. And I think that will come. I think that it'll get to the point where, like, there's one of the people that we've talked to and a great friend of ours from Grid Plus. They've created hardware wallets that are physical, that are like right in front of you, that are big and they're very, very complicated systems that they have. And there could be a time where there's more assets or more chained assets that are more physical, that are there with you, so that it's harder to kind of hack that type of stuff. And who knows? I mean, I think the market is still out there for the retail sector, but what about this larger sector? What about all of these institutional investors that have billions or hundreds of millions of dollars? How do they protect these assets? And when that gets figured out, that might even bring in even more people, because that's probably why some of these large companies are scared. Is okay, we buy $100 billion worth of Bitcoin or whatever. What do we do with it, and how do we secure it? And maybe they're saying that our asset managers and the people that are involved in our company or our shareholders, they won't get behind it because we can't promise that it won't get hacked.
And the thing is, when you have a hack this big, where everything's on chain, Draco, do you have the wallet that this hacker is? Yeah, so you see everything this guy is trying to do. So this wallet is actually trying to move funds out. But when you have, you know, probably a lot of people watching this wallet exactly what you're doing, is not as easy as you would expect. There was a recent hack for Poly Network. I think that was for 640 million or so, and the hacker gave the money back because he says, "Oh, I hacked it to protect the funds because maybe from other malicious people, so I'm a good guy." It may be that way, but I feel like he hacked it. That he's like, "Wait, I actually can't move this money. They're gonna find me. They're gonna catch me.
Yeah,
Better
he's
just
got
to
a pending
return it."
transaction,
Yeah.
and
So
it looks
so
like
you know.
looks like he doesn't have enough ether to pay his gas fees. I don't know, guys.
Wait, if I send him some ether, do you think he'll pay the
Yeah,
gas
oh yeah,
fees?
he'll pay it forward for sure, for sure. You might
He's one
get
of these.
labeled as a terrorist, but yeah,
He's one of these like Nigeria prince scam, but it's actually real. He's like, guys,
I need
I have
help.
170,000 ETH. I can't move out. Send
But
me
he's
one
being
ETH.
true.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, look, like I'm not that technically advanced. Like if you give me a wallet like this, like I wouldn't be able to move this money without getting caught. Like someone's gonna find me, they're gonna catch me.
Oh yeah,
And like this is it's way more complicated
and that's
after
the
you
way
get
it
the
should
money
be.
to move it. Yeah.
It's the way it should be. If you're gonna, you should be able to operate in the bright light. And if you're not, then rethink what you're doing with your life. And if this person, whoever this person is, I mean, at the end of the day, if they don't give it back and they didn't do this as a way to bloister their computer skills, they could be looking at prison time. They've already done that with other people that have hacked exchanges.
They sure have.
Yep.
They sure have. I was thinking about this the other day, Draco, and we were talking about the maturity of the space and the hacks and the rug pulls and things of that nature. And if you think back to like even when our banking institutions were in their infancy, okay, if you could think back even 150 years, can you imagine the number of bank robberies that occurred?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best stories that we grew up, and some they're on TV even being reenacted today, are
Yep.
stories of these exact types of things. It's just in a totally different spectrum, right? In a totally different light. And so again, this is kind of like the organic growth, I think, of the space in itself. It sucks. It's horrible, just like the bank robberies were horrible, 100 years ago. But all of those led us to where we are today in our financial institutions, right? Where our
Right.
money is much safer, much more trusted. That's why there's a bank on every stinking corner. That's the exact reason. So yeah, just a few thoughts or perspectives on it.
No, that's perfect. And you know what? And that's why they call this the crypto space, the Wild West, because
Mhm.
it's just cops and robbers and bank robbers and, cowboys running around with masks on trying to win money and steal money. And I mean, that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. And it's going to take time. It's going to take time for the whole entire place to mature. And like I said, if security can ramp up and we can get different types of security for different levels of investors and different like project security and stuff like that, I think that would make the space even better. So I think we can all be advocates for security, not only for personal, but for the whole entire space. I think that that's huge for everybody.
Agreed.
All right. And then that brings us to our last one, and we can't skip this. I don't know if everybody heard about this or not, but it looks like the Twitter shares jumped up. And the reason why, lo and behold, is Elon Musk. I don't know if you've ever heard of him pumping stocks or pumping crypto, but he just took Twitter stock and bumped it 26%. How did he do it? He bought 9.2% of the stock, which made him the majority shareholder. So we can talk about this. I'll put my opinions here at the end. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. The question would be, what is the plan? What is he doing? What could he potentially be doing? And could this be good for Twitter or for social media in general?
I think Elon, I mean, this guy, he made a poll last week, right? Asking if people feel like Twitter is adhering to the freedom of speech. And 70% of people voted no on that, which is not surprising to me. What's surprising to me is 30% people thinks that Twitter is actually adhering to freedom of speech. It's not. So he posts that. He says, the vote has real consequences. I think just like back in the day when he posted that tweet saying, "Hey guys, should I sell my Tesla shares?" And most people voted yes, and maybe he was planning to sell anyways, but he carried through and started selling his Tesla shares. And I think we know that Elon Musk versus Jack Dorsey, they're like completely different people in terms of, I guess we say, the political spectrum. Elon Musk is more like libertarian based and things like that, and Jack Dorsey, is a very very liberal guy. And so Elon Musk got tired of pumping Doge, and now he's trying to pump stocks too, I guess. But this is crazy because I don't know. I thought I might be wrong on this, but I thought for the longest time Elon just held. He doesn't own any other shares except Tesla. But
Yeah.
now, if this is true, then the first other public company that he buys is Twitter. So he has enough money to buy Twitter, like 100% of Twitter, right? This transaction was a couple $1 billion, so he has enough money to completely buy Twitter. People say he's trying to make it into like more of like a blockchain system for Twitter, and which would be good, which would mean that Twitter would actually be a nice space because I think for the people in the crypto, we're kind of shielded from a lot of the junk and garbage that goes on with Twitter. You're very easily banned. You have to watch what you say. And I think, again, I'm a fan of this move. We don't know if he's going to actually transform Twitter, or maybe, hey, just take Twitter and just delete it, create something else.
Oh man, Elon just said, "Hold my beer and watch this."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what he did. Man, I've been so uneasy with how to take Elon in the past. Like honestly, I didn't know how I felt about him because he would do something I thought was pretty ingenious, and the work that he's doing, like with SpaceX, you have to give it to him. It's pretty ingenious to do that in a private market, right? Kind of revolutionary in a way. And then he'll turn around and throw a stupid meme out there that goes, "Oh no, there he goes again," right? But my gosh, this guy does what he says he's going to do, and I have to appreciate that. I do. Uh, Also, I think this is kind of a small win for those people that kind of feel shamed, or like they don't have as much freedom of speech as maybe they would like. And I think, of course, the poll shows the majority of people feel like freedom of speech is stifled a little bit on Twitter, right? And so, man, I think that's awesome for him to take a step back and put his money where his mouth is. And there is no doubt that there's going to be changes made. Now, I tell you, that entire office at Twitter today, every one of those people probably called in sick because I mean, what do you do, right? They're not they may appreciate Elon in some ways, but when it comes to what he believes in, I can guarantee you it doesn't align with maybe what a lot of the executives in Twitter do.
That's
So,
what the
yeah.
office looked like.
No. Yeah. So, hey, I loved it, honestly. I
Draco,
love it.
can you pull up Elon's tweet real quick? I sent it in the chat where he tweeted this morning. I guess when the news came out, it's pretty funny.
Oh, it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
hi.
Oh hi, yeah. Oh hi, I just bought 9.2% of you guys.
It's funny. I think, well, so, listening to you guys, I think those are the very, like surface, like, logical responses. But I thought about it a little bit more. Number one, I mean, Elon, man, he's a very smart dude. Nobody can take that away from him, right? But the verbiage that he's using, the words that he's using, I mean, he's saying specifically here that Twitter is failing to adhere to free speech principles, which are fundamentally, undermines democracy. That's that's powerful. Those are some big statements. And when you take something like that and those types of that type of language, I think it's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing that our country has allowed this type of stuff to go on for as long as it has, and that it takes somebody like Elon Musk to step in to try to make changes, right? So I think that this is a good thing. I hope that it continues to go in the right direction. I think all, freedom of speech needs to be a paramount thing for social media platforms. I mean, it's crazy that we even need to say that. And the fact that Elon Musk has to say, hold my beer, like you said, and take it into his own hands. I, I think I think it's crazy, but if that's what needs to be done, I'm all for it. I'm right behind it. And I think that this can only be good for the space. The only thing that could be better for it is if he votes and says that we need to back this asset, because Twitter has a lot of shareholders and everything like that, but it's not backed by really anything other than its shareholders. What if they took their treasury and backed it by Bitcoin?
Mhm.
They could buy hundreds of or tens or hundreds of billions of dollars in Bitcoin. And I think I read an article that said that this was only 2% of his overall wealth to buy this. So he literally just pulled a couple $100 out of his pocket and bought 9% of this, and it was 2% of his overall wealth. So he's having
That's
fun with
crazy.
this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he needs to do this more. Maybe there's other companies he needs to be the majority shareholder of so that he can make real changes, right?
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I agree. I just envision him, Draco, like texting Joe Rogan, "Hey, bro, do you dare me? Do you
Yeah.
dare me?" Joe
I
Rogan's
bet you
like,
he
"Do it,
talked to him
man.
beforehand. He's like,
I dare you, man. Do it."
yeah. He's like, hey, Joe, I need you to sign another NDA. I want to talk to you about one of my ideas. And he's probably like, nope, I don't want. I don't even want to know.
Oh man, Elon.
Well, I mean, that's all we have for tonight. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to discuss real quick before we let everybody go?
No,
No.
nothing
Awesome.
else.
Yep.
Well,
Been a
awesome.
great talk.
Yeah, this is a good talk, guys. I think there's a lot of fun stuff going on. I think that, in my opinion, I think the overall mood in crypto has definitely changed. I don't know if, we talk about it twice a week, so it's a little bit easier for us to say that. But I think overall the mood in crypto is becoming more positive. Do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I
Since
do
now,
too.
it's always easier to talk when things are looking up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. It is. Hey, across the spectrum, people just feel a little bit more assured right now than even just a few months ago. So yeah, I agree. The sentiment across the market is feeling pretty nice.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thanks for joining me tonight, and to everybody listening, thank you very much for coming on and listening to us. We're here every Monday and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. And yeah, I hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you again next time. Have a good night.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Good night, guys.